For anyone wondering if that bit from last week was a joke, no, I'm still eating the food I brought for this episode. It's apparently what looks to be some leftovers on a crescent roll.
Ooh. Good choices, good choices.
Sure, anyway, welcome back to Daredevil Weekly, where this is episode 3, Rabbit in a Snowstorm. Where, surprise, surprise, y'all, not a big Matt slash Daredevil focused episode in Daredevil. Crazy, I know, it's like other characters matter.
Wait, other characters exist in this show?
Yeah, it's like there are people that remember that there's a giant ensemble cast that surround the main character that also need focus and attention. Who could ever forget that, Kevin? For anyone to push that for their product, Kevin, so people could really be invested in every single character properly, Kevin, to then make sure everyone in the audience can really attach to people with real fervor, Kevin.
That's crazy.
That's so crazy. Anyway, this episode kicks off with a guy who looks like Ron Howard just bodying two people in a bowling alley and then braining someone in with a bowling ball. Why? Because his employer said so. But he also went to go visit Turk about getting a gun that was jamming.
Yeah?
They call that gun the dancer because it always jams. Anywho, after just bludgeoning someone to death with a bowling ball and just beating the shit out of two people that were bodyguards and one person that was just like, hello, 911, this is Snitch O'Clock here trying to say that someone just got their ass kicked and they're gonna be murdered in my bowling alley. Police show up and he's just like, listen, I literally look like, what's his name from Happy Days. I need a lawyer. And then we cut to the opening credits. Was that word for word? Probably not. Who cares?
Look, he gets the point across.
Anyway, so episode 3 in and of itself is surrounding the man who looks like Ron Howard from Happy Days. His name is Healy. I think it's Joe or John Healy.
John.
Cool. For shizzle. So, John Healy's the focus of this episode, where Matt and Foggy are only roped in because Leland, the person who is the voice and envoy and secretary and right hand and all things in between to the employer, aka Kingpin, is hiring them to make sure that they can get Healy out of legal problems for the murder charge. Why did he hire two people that barely have a firm? So anyway, Matt finds out.
Leland explained that one.
True. But anyway, so Leland talks to his employer off screen. We will see the employer of Kingpin at the end of the episode, do not worry. But for right now, the mystery is still placed on who is the employer. I mean, it's Daredevil. We all would have figured this out just from the first episode alone. Anyway, we end up having it where Healy showcases that this is not his first rodeo. He has been charged with murder many a time, much like a famous pro athlete that was in a Bronco chase in the 90s. So he's just like, listen, I know everything I need to say. I know everything I need to do. And I'm Ron Howard's lookalike. We have no problems. Foggy's just like, what was that last part? And then Matt comes in. Matt just wants to hear the whole thing again about how Healy went to the bowling alley because he wanted to bowl. He tried to talk to the person. of a name I can't pronounce, but we'll put on screen right here. And then he is almost approached by two men that he clocks out because he felt threatened physically. To then, when he saw that the guy whose name I can't pronounce on the screen right here tries to pull a gun, or so he says to make the story feel whatever, he takes the bowling ball to then hit him in self-defense, with the shoe clerk only seeing stuff after the fight had already started. We all know that he pulled the gun first, and that's how the fight escalated from there, but that's semantics. Matt already probably thinks that he picks up that he's lying, but Healy just seems like the kind of guy who can beat a lie detector test. Either way, they get their first official client for Nelson and Murdock. I was trying to remember Foggy's last name. And it is not a great one. They are representing a murder case for the person who did the murder.
They got money.
Not a good start, but look, they got bills to pay. Sometimes you gotta leave your morals at the door to get that rent paid off and keep the lights on. Also, it's expensive to have Karen keep hitting the Wi-Fi signal every fucking day.
Look, man, she's trying her best, bro.
But that's an expensive job, Shane.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm just saying.
So, basically, we're focusing more on how the legal side of Matt's life kind of goes in his first official trial as a licensed lawyer with his own firm, with how he and Foggy try to progress with things, with Daredevil sprinkled a little into the action sequence of trying to make sure that one juror isn't tampered with because of exploitations going through with blackmail on a tape. I'm assuming a sex tape. I'm only assuming a sex tape. I don't know.
It probably was.
It could just be something from a wild Christmas party where she shat herself. Who knows? Or it's just like how Patrick Star had photos of SpongeBob at the Christmas party. What did SpongeBob do at the Christmas party? Probably a lot of gay things. Because SpongeBob is not straight. I've been saying that for years. As the home room gets quiet because we're doing this in the middle of Pride Month.
Happy Pride! Woo!
I mean, it's not like Matt is straight either, so.
They could be gayer too, let's be honest.
So after the first juror tampering is fixed, Matt thinks that he is on that good shit. He thinks that shit's sweet. So he lays down the most poetic speech of his career for now, to make sure that the jury understands exactly what to do, but not outright saying how to do it. Why? Because Matt's a professional.
He knows the game.
With broken ribs and a lot of internal bleeding because of the stitches being popped because he can't take a rest day. But nevertheless, still a professional.
He's my hero.
Probably should invest in darker clothing. But I digress. So, how does the trial end? Well, it goes into a hung jury that ends up being where Healy gets off, and obviously Nelson and Murdock get paid off because we find out real quick that Leland's employer, who is also Healy's employer, really knew how to stack the trial in Healy's favor. So no matter what they did, Healy was going to get off scot-free. Done deal.
Yep.
But Matt's not having it. He's just like, look, it's belt to ass time. So let's put belt to ass right now. But honestly, Healy puts up a pretty solid fight against Matt. But again, Matt just recently got stitched up and patched up after a lot of things happened where he is yet to fully recover. So who's to say if Healy could take on a fully healed Matt Murdock? But then we
Got the
find
moves though.
he do got the moves though. But even still, we end up finally getting the name of the employer, Fisk, which at this point everyone should probably know if they've seen the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s or Spectacular Spider-Man or played any of the video games prior to now.
Or even just read the OG comics.
So many different pieces of media, even the shitty Ben Affleck film that I hate to this very fucking day, of Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin.
Did you want me to talk?
But yeah, that's just one part of the storyline. Shan, you want to cover the stuff for Karen?
Sure. So, as you guys recall from the last episode or two, after the whole thing that happened with Karen, she is now, who supposedly was supposed to be free, but then changed it to the last moment to tell Foggy that, yo, you're not paying me. Which, Karen, we'll talk about this later.
I'll let your contract later.
Yeah, we'll talk about this later, don't worry. So, Karen's now basically working for Nelson and Murdock, but as like a receptionist slash like not security, that's weird, secretary. To where at one point after Matt and Augie go to talk to the Ron Howard lookalike, she's missing. Don't worry, she's not in any like fighting trouble. But, however, she ends up going to what I think was her old employer at Union Allied, to where they're trying to get her to sign this contract, to where if you don't talk about what happened here ever again, we'll give you a check of some money. Now, I don't remember what that money was, mostly because I was trying to do research about who the fuck this guy was talking about, because as Vince mentioned while watching this episode, they mentioned that she was the one that dropped off the information about this whole scandal thing, but yet, if we recall, that was dropped off anonymously. So, I don't know what happened there.
Look, they have ways to get information.
Apparently. So, she is conflicted about, signing the paper and stuff, the contract. Where I believe she did not, because she then later on goes to talk to the guy that died in her apartment's, ex-wife. And by ex-wife, I mean widowed wife. Who be talking about everything that happened and, like, talked about the contract. And she's like, I don't know if you got to talk to about all this stuff, which the wife was like, yes, I did. And I already signed, so you are on your own. Good luck! And then she goes to talk to Ben Urich.
Where you're fine, Shan. You're fine. You're fine. But the thing about Ben Urich is very interesting because fans will probably never know or remember how Ben is tied to the Daily Bugle, but because this was the Netflix series, we couldn't have the Daily Bugle. So
yeah, we didn't have access to it, so it's just some generic New York newspaper.
Who suck, by the way.
Which means J. Jonah Jameson could not have been in his work staff working right alongside Robbie.
Look, we can imagine that J. Jonah Jameson is somewhere in New York saying Spider-Man is a menace.
Somewhere out there, after the incident, J. Jonah Jameson's just like, damn it! I need photos of all those weirdos that were running around. Not the Avengers, they were actually valid, because they have a war hero. But I need all those other menaces. I hear there's a menace in Hell's Kitchen who wears a black mask.
You mean Robert, sir?
No! We're talking about one that does flips everywhere with his black mask. JJ, why are you putting so much emphasis on black? What are you trying to say?
You told me, sir.
Just seems like a weird emphasis on the word black. That was the color, black!
It is the only defining trait of this mask.
But speaking of Ben, there was also a plot thread about Ben, where he was at the start of the episode having a good look at the island of New York itself, New York City, with its dirty ass boroughs. There's no clean way to talk about New York City. It is a fucking trash heap of a goddamn city.
Yeah.
But he's trying to talk to, I believe, a police friend of his. At least that's the vibe I got. And later, we're seeing that Ben is going to be a very important character because his wife is in the hospital with something we'll address later. But also talking to a head nurse that works at the hospital that is Claire's boss. Remember Claire from the last episode? We meet her boss in this episode. Kind of a bitchy lady with a heart of gold. It's like a Charles Dickens character, minus the prostitution.
You're unhinged today, aren't you?
Define unhinged.
We'll talk about it later.
So anyway, Ben is trying to just get a lot of money together because he doesn't want his wife to be out on the street because, you know, who wants to have their spouse just ass out? Like, who would do some stuff to backstab their spouse out of nowhere, undermining their trust, and then making them feel horrible about themselves?
True.
Anyway, so yeah, Ben gets at least a little bit of a reprieve, and Karen knocks on his door because she's just like, hey, you need a rat? Huh? And basically, we just tie up the whole episode by finally having the big reveal of who's playing Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin. And it's none other than legendary character actor of Vincent D'Onofrio.
Legend.
Many people would probably remember him as Edgar or Alien in an Edgar suit from the Men in Black film. Others from, I believe, Law & Order Criminal Intent as one of the lead detectives. Either way, Vincent D'Onofrio is an amazing choice to be Wilson Fisk because all three of us, while watching the episode, made this very big distinction. Unlike many other villains that were coming out from the MCU at the time, Wilson Fisk, within 3 episodes, established a presence unlike every other villain we have had to witness in film format, or even from the upcoming television formats. Not including certain other programs that I believe Shan has covered from time to time in her own stream series of Marvel Mondays. Potentially, I don't know. A few shows kind of dropped the ball, but that's because, hey, Kevin is executive producer. What can you do? But just the gravity behind Wilson's reveal before his physical appearance is legendary. He has people that work for or run the hand in his overall network of trust. He has numerous gangs across the globe that are bringing in income for him. An underworld accountant that is breaking down things to make sure that everything about his finances are top notch. His lieutenant slash underboss slash right hand slash every other title underneath the sun is immaculate throughout the entire proceedings about how he's going about his business, making sure to tie up any loose ends to where even if Fisk loses, he wins. And having that gravitas surrounding himself while also having people be willing to off themselves if they reveal his name, pure and absolute incredible nature for this kind of character. A force of nature that elicits fear and terror from just reputation alone. We, the audience, know about the feats about Wilson Fisk in every part of media. He is a titan with strength. He is a very powerful boxer. You need super strength to even handle him and super durability to even withstand his own blows. He is not a regular ground level villain. He is truly built different. Which makes the whole Hawkeye and Kate Bishop show kind of have you tilting your head about, well, if he's that cool and that powerful, then how come two archers could take him down? We're not going to go into that, okay? We're not going to go into all of that, okay? It's a long conversation piece I'm not ready to talk about just yet. Just we're going to put a pin in that for later. Okay, here's the pin. Here's the topic. I'm going to put it right here on the board. At the very fucking bottom.
I'm going to duct tape it so it doesn't move.
We're going to put it at the very bottom, along with Shan's whole obsession with pandas just right above it. And then everything else that we have to talk about right on top of it. But after we're done with all of those things and Shan's obsession with pandas, we'll then talk about that thing we have pinned right there at the bottom.
You're like mocking me.
I'm not. I'm just saying there's like 40 billion other topics. Then your thing about pandas. And then the whole thing about how Kingpin went from this to where he is in Hawkeye and blah, blah, blah at the very, very bottom.
That's crazy.
But overall, all of those different wisecracks aside, let's actually talk about this episode, because seeing this again, I'm just still reminded that when other MCU programs were made without the eagle eye of Kevin, a lot of characters could thrive in the best way without feeling too cartoonish or too Feige-ism based, if people know what I mean.
I mean, I love the episode. Listen, everyone does such a phenomenal job in the show that the show, like, you can't hate the show. And I'm just excited to watch more.
Jay? I think he done vanished on us again.
I'm here. His brain trying to work.
Oh.
No, this show, like, this episode does a good job setting up things and leaves you wanting more. Which will be exciting to see how it gets followed up on.
Well, we'll definitely see something, because episode 4, In the Blood, has Matt fighting two dudes.
Exciting.
I just wonder why it's so in the blood. But whatever. So,
we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah. But we'll see you guys with that episode where we're gonna keep doing this whole thing where we're gonna be eating while watching and then maybe eat while talking about it. I don't know. I kind of like this.
It was nice.
Very nice.
Man, this fucking Caesar roll is too no, it's a Kaiser roll. Where's the Caesar roll I had before?
How do you lose a roll?
I don't know. It was in this container. I took the container, opened it, and there's only one roll. Where the fuck the other roll go?
You've done magic.